Call this meeting to order. Ask you to stand, please, for the invocation, and then stand and praise the flag. Father, I thank you for this another opportunity that we have to come as commissioners for this great county to discuss the business of the citizens which entrusted us to these positions. We pray for your wisdom, your guidance, and your leading in all things considered. In Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, before you have an agenda proposed for this evening's meeting. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to separate the consent agenda and vote on 3 of them and the 4th one by itself.
All right. And the 4th one you said?
Yes, sir.
So you would like to remove the 4th item from the consent agenda and add it as
Old business number 1.
old business number 1. Any other changes or corrections proposed?
That would be the only old business.
Yeah. All right. I entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve with the taking off old and moving number 4 to old business number 1.
I'll second.
Motion on second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes for the February 17, 2015 meeting. Everybody had a chance to review those? Any corrections, changes? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right. Ask that public comments be limited to agenda items only, and it should be noted that documents from this meeting, as are all meetings, located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Consent agenda. First item, consideration to approve the second reading of an ordinance amendment to change the makeup of the planning board and revisions for the planning board bylaws. Item number 2, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Lisa Cannon to rezone 6.73 acres located at 183 Meldrum Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 329B, parcel number 4 in the 1st district. Third item, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by James and Myrtle Hall for a variance to allow for a camper on a property located at 270 Cypress Point Road, map number 367, parcel number 7 in the 3rd district. Completes the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right. Your old business. Item number 1. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by William Arnstead for a variance to create a 4th lot off of an easement located at 1575 Union Springs Road, map number 457, parcel number 24 in the 3rd district. All right. I am going to allow, we've already had public hearings on this, so the time for public information is over. things to be considered that is new. I'm not going to want this to get drug out or rehash what's already been said. I will allow you to speak. Anybody?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
my name is Steve Sims. I'm here to speak on behalf of Mr. Orangedorf. I was not present at the prior meeting. I have talked to them this afternoon for the first time. I certainly understand their concern here. I don't want to plow old ground. I know that what I've been told is that apparently, and I don't, again, I talked to these people for the first time today at 3 o'clock. I don't pretend to know the arcane nature of the zoning ordinances or variances. I've never been to a county commission meeting in my life at all, but I've been practicing law for over 30 years and I know the law in general, and I'm certainly not here to preach or to lecture to anybody. But this man has a legitimate right of way back to this property, and obviously all he's trying to do is give his son a place to build a house on his own property. I mean, the law is very clear. I mean, a man can pretty much do what he wants to with his property as long as it is not noxious or harmful to other folks, and does not violate the public safety or public policy grounds of the state. And in this case, you've got a man who is trying to give his son a place to raise his grandchildren on apparently a pretty nice piece of property. And I'm not certain what possible arguments have been made against this in the past. It seems to me that due process, you're certainly restricting his right to do what he will with this property. By this, the little snippets of the ordinances that I have seen that apparently were quoted from or relied upon in the past talk about a subdivision. While this certainly is 3 pieces of property that go down this old road down to the river, I would quarrel with it because, and to my way of thinking, a subdivision is something that is cut out for a specific purpose, and as we all would be familiar with, for a housing development or for some industrial authority complex or something of that nature. I mean, this happens to be 3 pieces of property that apparently used to be owned by one family or different members of the same family, and now it's not. I find it hard to fathom how you can take an allocation of 5 acres to build a house within this man's total property and declare it to be an additional lot to raise this, as I described before, this arcane objection about it being a 4th lot on this dead-end street. It's not like he's putting a massive subdivision back there. He's not putting a trailer park in. I did look at the zoning. It appears he can do a lot of other things to this property besides grow soybeans on it and live on it and hunt and fish. But in this particular case, that's all he's doing is retired there, and he wants his son and his grandchildren to be there with him. And I would just urge the commission to vote in favor of this ordinance, as y'all already have on your previous meeting.
To clarify, if I may, you're here representing the Orange District.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What was his last name?
Sims.
Sims.
S-I-M-S.
The commission voted to grant a variance to allow for the second dwelling to be built
Right.
on that property.
My understanding, yes, sir.
We did not vote to change the zoning from an AR1 to an AR2,
I understand that.
which requires the Orange District to cut off 5 acres minimum.
Right.
That's still the understanding and the way everything is going.
It's my understanding that they have designated it or platted it of 5 acres already in view of the comments or concerns which were raised at the previous meeting. So that, I mean, I think originally we were talking about 2, now they're gonna give him 5, or, and I'm sure this is for the bank purposes or
No,
construction purposes.
I brought that up because to zone it from AR1
Right.
to AR2 opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Right.
And, but 5 acres under our ordinance can, I mean,
Yes,
as long as we grant the variance, and that's what's before us.
Right,
For the
and that's-
second reading to confirm that, but,
yes, and that's what I'm urging the commission to do.
all right,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Have to give equal time to the attorneys. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Steve Rushing. I was here at the prior meeting on behalf of Mr. Ron, the neighbor on which the property, the easement crosses, as you may recall. And certainly, I do not wish to rehash old information. And in fairness to Mr. Sims, obviously he was not here when we went over the prior information and was not privy to that. And he did indicate he's not had an opportunity to review the ordinance thoroughly, but I have. And I just want to remind this commission that this ordinance that this commission or prior commission has adopted is what governs what we're doing here. There is a provision for variances, and that it is our position that those matters have not been met. The conditions for variance have not been met, and in addition to that, that the 20-foot easement has not been dealt with properly, because even with permitting the additional lot, the ordinance still requires that it access be through a 60-foot wide, even if it is an unpaved road. And that just isn't the case here. And that was, we wanted to remind this commission of that. That is what binds the commission in making these decisions is its ordinance. And it's our position that when you apply the ordinance to this matter, that it does not support the variance. And again, we have made our position clear that we do not think the variance is proper. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I want to ask a question of our attorney, if that'll be all right. Elizabeth was here at the last meeting. I talked to you a few minutes before the last meeting, and I talked to her as well, and I had concurrence, and I just still want to verify based on some comments that he specifically just made. Again, where he did state what he said last time, and then I asked the county attorney, and I'm trying to re-verify. If the county commissioners are bound and have no discretion, then we might as well not be here. So I am trying to verify, you know, I get that there is an ordinance in place, I understand it. But I also have been told by our own counsel that we do have discretion in the matter of doing this. So I just want verification from the county attorney that that's checked.
We think that the board does have discretion in this matter. In general, when you're considering a variance, you should be considering unique factors about the size, shape, geographic location of the property. This piece of property in particular, one of those factors would be that it is adjacent to the river. It's really only accessible from one direction, and we think it's within the board's discretion to find that that and perhaps other factors support a variance in this case.
I don't have any personal, this has nothing to do with personalities or who it is or anything else. The reason I voted against this, I don't think it's a variance, and I've been up here for going on 11 years, and we have been turning people down on this thing, and I don't see where it's a variance. I think it's a violation of our ordinance. And there's no personalities. I know everybody involved. And I would be the same way if I had 55 acres and I wanted to move my son in there or my daughter, then I think I would ought to do it, but I got to meet the ordinance that Effingham County has on their books or either do away with it.
And that's the reason you wanted it moved from the consent agenda, because you could not
That's
vote for
exactly
the
right.
consent agenda as a whole.
I was not going to vote for it because I think it's strictly against our ordinance.
All right. Any other discussion?
That's all I got to say.
Questions? All right. Call for a vote as to whether to uphold the previous vote, or, I guess, I need a motion first.
Make a motion we approve.
Second reading.
Yeah, next motion we approve, second reading.
A second.
Motion and a second to approve the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Let the record show Commissioner Deloach and Lofer voted against. Bill passes. All right.
I heard a fellow say today, he made a comment.
Okay.
He's been holding back on some stuff, and then he comes before the commission for variance.
First item of new business, consideration to approve the first and second reading to amend Chapter 46, Article 2, Recreation Commission of the official Effingham County Code of Ordinances.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In a review of ordinances, I guess we determined that the current makeup of the order, or the Recreation Commission, as it's called, ordinance that we currently have on the books is not the way we currently do business. I believe the bylaws that were approved in '99 are probably a lot closer to the actual makeup and composition of the Recreation Board or Commission and how it functions. And I think Clarence is here, he may can shed some light on this, but it appears to me that this ordinance was originally written some time ago, back when there was a loose group of organizations throughout the county that each operated independently of one another for different fields, I guess, as they were. And there was a Recreation Commission to pull them all together, and that commission was in charge of the actual fields of planning, the development of them, and actually intaking money for the sports and so forth. And I believe the state's like in 2001, Recreation came under the purview of the Board of Commissioners. And at that time, some things changed as to how it functioned, and the money all came to the board and it went back out. So I believe it's largely just a update to catch up with the times as to how we actually function. For the most part, I believe all of the changes that are in here really get us caught up to the way that we operate today, with the exception of the number of members of the board. There are currently, according to the ordinance, 9 members. I believe there's 5 appointed from the board, actually by general militia district, not commission district. There are 3 from municipalities, and I believe you, Mr. Chairman, are an ex officio member of it, so you have not been attending as you should. Daryl, in your duties, we're going to kick you off tonight.
Rather than get fired.
Yeah, we'll take that resignation. So anyhow, the current ordinance, the proposed ordinance in its current form contemplates 5 members, much as we just did with planning board, to come back to each of the 5 districts having representation, to keep from any double representation going on. And the idea that the cities aren't in here, mainly because they run their own recreation program, at least Rankin has a complete one. Springfield and Guyton do some form of recreation or parks or something, so that they would presumably, have, if they wanted a board to manage their own recreation programs. Well, that being said, you've all been given copies of this. You've all, seen it tonight. We'll gladly answer any questions.
I want to make mention of one thing in case some of the members of the rec board are here and have some questions. I don't know if it might clear a couple things up, but I'm a little bit confused about a telephone call that I had last night with Mr. Wilson, which is the at-large, which was talking to me about the fact that they've been operating under bylaws that was given to them by our previous clerk that were instituted in 1999. That confused me because those particular bylaws, there was a difference in where the chairman was no longer appointing the members. It had been updated, but some clarity was received today where I understood that what we had information on was the actual ordinance itself, which is what governs, and that the bylaws had been voted on in the minutes of a meeting, but they had never turned it into an ordinance. So, and you might not be up to speed on this.
don't know that the rec board's bylaws would have come to the commission.
Well, what I'm speaking from is, the clerk, somebody had the clerk find it, and there was a meeting in which the bylaws were voted on in 1999, but that's strange. It's actually odd because, right, we wouldn't normally, we vote on an ordinance that would kind of help them maybe write the bylaws, but it's very, it's misleading actually, because the ordinance would govern them, so we still have an older ordinance that we have to go by, that technically they're supposed to go by, so the bylaws are not any good. So I learned that between the conversation that I had with them last night and as of today. So we still, what we were looking at was accurate for us to look at as far as here's the ordinance that's in place, and that's a problem, unfortunately. So it does get right back to, if you want to get as clear to the matter as it is, that ordinance says that the chairman appoints all the different committee members, and that's not even what's happened. So it's really, in essence, like your existing appointments aren't even any good, according to the law. So we're trying to, that's what we're here for, is trying to make those things right. Once you catch it, you understand it, you have to fix it. But really what precipitated a lot of it was, we started that before the rec. It had nothing to do with rec. We just started, I think our first one was the planning board, but we had been talking about this in public meetings for months, that we felt that the different districts were being represented. It's looked at over 10 years as far as how we represent districts, and it's readjusted so that we each have close to the same number of citizens that we represent. So as an example, roughly right now, each one of these 5 districts represents about 10,000 citizens. And we looked at it as if it would be the best case, most fair case scenario for our citizens to be represented in the same way on committees. And so that if each one of us had an appointment, then there would be fair representation. And when we actually looked at a chart that was made up, I believe District 1 had, out of 9 members, District 1 had 1 representative, District 2 had 1 representative, and then the other 7 representatives were out of the other districts. And so that gives you an indication of some, you wouldn't want to be represented on your districts that way here, and we feel like it doesn't translate fairly in that direction. So with all that said, that's a little background for everybody that's sitting out there and might understand where we're coming from.
Well, I disagree with you. We made the final decision on everything, and what the administrator said, it is, our ordinance is outdated. I mean, it's got a bunch of stuff in there that we don't want to go by that. As far as having 8 men on the board, I think we need them. All those that's been on the board for all these years, they have been working to get a better recreation in Effingham County, and they've been working on it for years, and they've been working against the county and everybody else. So now it's coming what they've been working for all the time. Now we're going to cut 3 of them off. They've been working on it all the time. So I don't think the city of Springfield or the city of Guyton has a recreation committee, so they need to have some input.
Do you think all
the county is doing?
Should all communities be represented the same way?
That's all the municipalities represent.
I said communities. There's other communities. If you look at the Faulkville area, they have about the same population as Guyton.
But then, well,
I'm just saying.
we make 12 or 13. If they have a big cookout, they'll have more people to help them. I mean, I don't care. You want to have more than 9? I don't care. I think the more the merrier with the recreation department, because a lot goes on in the recreation department. And I think they need all the help they can get.
Well, they do. They can show up to any meeting. But we represent 10,000 people. And if you look at the way the board is laid up now, there's 3 from District 3, 2 with you, and 2 with Phil. District 1 and 2 only have 1 representative on my board. And there's always a perception, and since the schools have split, there's this north-south perception. And it's always perceived that the north seems to be running this county, and this feeds to that.
Okay.
So to make it even, I can't understand why we can't have 1 representative. These people could still attend meetings, voice their opinion, or lobby their representative to vote in the direction they choose.
Well, I'm just wasting my time talking anyway, probably. Y'all
No,
already decided what the outcome will be.
As well.
But anyway, you can put more people on the board. I don't care how many they have. We don't pay them. The other board, we would pay these extra people. So we did away with them, we saved a little money. We're not paying any of those people on the recreation board one red cent. If you want to get somebody else on the south end of the county, I don't care, you put 15 on it, that'd be more people
I
to
would
get out.
think that if this was reversed, and I had 3, Commissioner Jones had 2, Commissioner Kiefer had 2, and you had 1 each, this would be a different discussion.
I don't care if he's got 3 in his district, so I got 2 in mine. So that, I don't care.
I'll disagree that it'd be a different discussion, and obviously, I'm
But we can put some more people. Does anybody in Faultville want to go on it? Put them on there.
But I don't understand why.
Y'all made your point. That's,
Anyway,
what you got to say?
District 3, you bring up a point, is it does have 3 members on there. I disagree with the comment that the north runs the county.
I said it's a perception, I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know where the perception comes from, but anyway, like Commissioner Loper said, we're not paying these guys anything. They're doing it, they're volunteering with the planning board. We went down to 5 members. It's a hard time trying to get the members to come on to the planning board. There's no issues with people being on, as is quoted now, the Recreation Commission. There's no issues there. We've got a list of people that want to volunteer and they want to be a part of the board. We currently have the 9 people. We have 8 members on the board and 1 member at large. To this date, and by the way, I'm a liaison with the Recreation Commission and with Board of Commissioners. I've spoken with the current commission and with Director Morgan, and there's no issues with how things are operating today. The big decisions that are made, we're talking about representation from different areas. The large commissions, just to give an example, design process of the new centralized recreational facility is currently in progress. Those big decisions are made through the Board of Commissioners. So, and we're each represented, 1 from each district. Municipalities have been represented for a long time. I agree with Commissioner Loper if you want to add some more members, but there's a lot going on in the Recreation Commission, and I don't agree with going down to 5 members.
I guess my question would be, just being a member, if these people want to be involved, then why do they need to vote? Why can't they still be involved?
Well, I don't want to speak for him, but when I did talk to Mr. Wilson last night, that was one of the comments he actually made to me. He said, I've been involved for years, and if I do not any longer have a seat, it may not mean he doesn't want one, but he said, if I do not any longer have a seat, I will still be active and I'll still give input. And that's how I would feel about it if I was in as well. And one thing I can say further is, you know, when I represented the school board as an elected official, and I voted to be a part of starting the Career Academy and funding the Career Academy, when I was gone, someone else had to build it. And so, you know, if there's something on any agenda, they can come and be a part of it. They can have as much part as they have today. I think the whatever voting members are there would have the respect to hear every single one of their comments out. You know, they just wouldn't have a vote on what to recommend to us. So this is not about this one group, in my opinion only, just speaking for myself. In everything that we have the ability to establish committees, we should each one have a representative, so that representative can contact us and give us input. It's a liaison. That's how it's typically set up. You have a liaison person. You know,
These are open meetings. It's an open meeting. Anybody in the county can come and speak.
we're not trying to harm anybody or remove anybody. It's not about that. We're trying to get consistency and equality in how we run things.
Well, for me, I always go back to smaller governments better, so I'm definitely not in favor of increasing. I know there comes a point when it gets too large, it's ineffective, and obviously it can't get too small. We have to have.
But they're satisfied the way they operate. Why mess up something that's working? Why mess up something that's working? You got 8 members, and they've been working on it the whole time. They've been trying to do something. They've been working against the county for years and all this kind of stuff.
What do you mean by against the county?
And they find,
Against the county?
Well, we haven't supported the recreation department in the past years like we should.
Well, that's why we have the progress being made that we do now.
And that's what I just said.
We're actually working.
But now, the people that's been fighting for all this time, you know, do away with 3 of them. That doesn't make sense. But anyway,
Well, I
can I have one more comment, please? One more comment. I do appreciate what this board has done and where we've got. My point is people in my district are just looking for it to be equitable across.
Well, add 2 more people to it, I don't care.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I think where a lot of this started, because it sounds like it's all about getting the equal representation, but Phil got this thing and pointed out the fact, I mean, we've got this recreation commission on the books, and then we've got the bylaws, and he pointed out the fact of how these things have.
Well, to speak to the family, my main concern was the financial, how it affected it was in contrast to our financial policies. So thereby having realized that, we're susceptible on the audit if we don't.
That's correct.
Finance policy, what does this got to do with finance?
It has a lot to do with your credit.
Huh?
Cash.
Okay.
I mean, the way the ordinance allows cash to not come through our financial channels.
All the money that they.
I understand, I'm not accusing or saying this doesn't operate that way.
All right.
It's not on our books that way.
First off, what we would be cutting out is Guyton, Springfield, and Rankin representation, correct?
And the member at large.
And the member at large. The only city I see represented here is Springfield.
And several months ago,
You got it.
Brett was sitting right back there, and I asked, how we know about
So I would really like to know
it.
how the cities feel about not being represented per se. I mean, your citizens are still being represented because they would be from that district.
Well, we
But
said,
is it a problem for any of the cities that are represented here?
I specifically asked Brett in a previous meeting months ago, sitting in that same spot. And I went on record as saying, he's shaking his head, he does not have a problem with it. He didn't come to the microphone, and I don't know if his view has changed. If it's changed, you certainly have the ability to say so.
Brett Bennett, City of Springfield. That was the planning board I think you're referring to a couple of months ago, because that wouldn't have been this. The first conversation I had was with Mr. Kiefer Thursday or Friday. I told him I don't have really strong feelings one way or another. I see both sides of it. I do see the potential of it happening where, for instance, we said we have 3 people in the district, District 3, but also see if the chairman at large changes, or the member at large changes, that easily drops back to 2. A Guyton resident or a Springfield resident picks the other side of the railroad tracks, then it ends up with 1 in District 3. So I think we're using that District 3 thing is to state a case right now that may not be that way next time around. That's the only thing I'm saying there. But as far as the city,
Excuse me, Brett, but then
Yeah.
the inequity would shift. So it's still an inequity. I don't care where the inequity exists. I don't care if it's in my favor of my district. I don't think it should exist.
but I guess the inequity could have happened years ago when we had this set up the way it was. It still would
We're not blaming
have
it.
been an
We're saying
inequity.
we're gonna fix it. Go ahead.
I guess my only thing is I see the benefit of having a resident on there. I don't have really strong feelings. I can't speak on behalf of the council for not having one on there. I guess I would say we have some very positive movement, and I'm very proud of what our commission has done. And I don't know, I'm not going to say there doesn't need to be some sort of change at some point. Just I don't know that now necessarily may not be the best time. So, any questions?
I did.
Okay.
Would you agree that, and I want to make sure I understand this right, city residents, their tax dollars do not fund county rec? Is that a true statement?
If the rec department is not subsidized by any other general fund dollars outside of what's discussed in service delivery, then I'd say that's the case. Mhm.
And do we want to actually even give them some money for their park and rec?
We may not.
That's under service delivery.
Service
Correct, that's
Yeah.
just a point.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the residents of Springfield, Guyton, and Rankin do participate in
Sure.
county rec, per this agreement.
And with me, this has never been trying to not allow the city to have representation. It's trying to boil it down and make it consistent with our board and representation.
Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Kirkland. I'm the representative for the city of Guyton. Just listening, you know, the perception ideal, that's a big issue. And I don't think the issue comes in with our kids. I hear it from the both school sides. Most of the time it's the parents that have the issue with the perception. But as far as my point from the city of Guyton, you know, I'm here to help represent this county overall, not just District 3 or just the north end. I got kids that I've coached on the north end, support them on the north end. I think this board has come to the point where we're learning to agree to disagree with whatever decision's been made. I think we've been very productive in what we have accomplished. If we have not been, then I will need to know what area that we were not productive in to try to help this county overall. Not happy about it. I spoke with Mayor Garland, but he was not able to be here for prior engagement, but he's not happy with the idea of not having a representation for the city of Guyton. But like I said, I'm here to represent the county overall. I just don't work for just District 3. I work for the county overall. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anybody from the rec department wanted to?
My name is Charles Dixon. I represent the 1st District. I've been on this board quite a while, and as far as having 2 members from one section or 3 members or whatever, I don't feel any intimidation at all being the only one from the 1st District. Had there been something that wasn't right there somewhere, we'd have never got Sand Hill. So I'm very proud of Sand Hill, and I'm proud of what we're doing now, and hope we can continue to do that. But I don't see any problem with the way we're doing business now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Anyone else?
I'm Mike Wilson, I'm the at-large member, and as I did tell Ms. Vera, if you take me off the board, I just won't have to go to the meetings, which I don't go to all the meetings anyway, but I'm still going to be a part of the recreation board. What troubles me more than anything is that several years ago, when we were going through the process of trying to decide what the recreation department could do, or what the recreation board could do, and what the recreation board could not do, we were handed the bylaws that said that we were basically a recommendation type board, and come to find out from what you guys are showing us, we're not a recommendation type board. We are a board that could have spent money and you guys would have had to pay the bills, if I'm reading it correctly. I think Mr. Toss got something the other day about the septic tank down here and said, let me do my job. And you know, nothing against Toss, you know, but that septic tank should have been fixed a long time ago. When I first come on the board, we had a bill that went unpaid for like 13 or 14 months for uniforms. We almost lost the ability to purchase from that place because that bill stood on a desk up here and was unpaid for 13 months.
I believe that to be incorrect, sir.
Good morning. How long did that bill sit on the desk from Thomas?
March until December.
Let me, instead of that, we do need to interject one thing about that. As far as one of the points I made up front about the bylaws and the ordinance.
Yes.
Your bylaws that were voted on up here cannot trump the ordinance. You know, there's law that plays into that. So
that's what I'm saying.
I understand you've been handed something by a previous clerk or by a previous board that was incorrect.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And we're not trying to operate under another guise or anything. We're just, sir.
We can get argumentative all night long.
I'm not worried.
We're not going to do that.
I was just trying to make a point.
You can make any points you want. Everybody can make their points, but we're not going to get into this 2 or 3 people talking at the same time.
I wasn't talking. I was just trying to make a point about what we should have been operating under and what we weren't operating under. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. Now, as far as the board as a whole, you know, you guys have the purse strings, and we really, really appreciate what y'all are doing for the new complex up here. And you're really going, from what I understand, overboard. And we really appreciate that for the county, okay? And from the bottom of my heart, I really do, because it's just something that, as you get to say this end of the county or that end of the county, it's something our end of the county has needed for years, was a complex that we could be proud of, instead of accumulation of fields that we're just overloaded. And that's all I want to say. And I want to touch on one other thing that was on your, the lines that you had drawn through there about the representative from the school board. I'm curious as to which school and which end of the county.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
You see what I'm saying? Where is that going to come from?
Well, it's a recommendation.
Okay.
It's a
So
recommendation.
be careful about where you go to this end of the county, that end of the county, this school or that
I
school.
hated to mention that, but the people I talked to, and I do appreciate Mr. Dixon stepping up, but the feedback to me
Right.
has been to make it equitable.
I understand.
And that's, you know, Jamie mentioned that he doesn't know where the perception comes from. Hang out in South End.
Okay.
But I dispel that because I don't believe that. Everybody that's on this board should be working for these kids, be it 5 or 9 members.
Hey,
And whoever I
agree
appoint will
with
be doing it.
Well, one big thing that I hope that what you have been seeing us do, no matter how you feel about this, is with your work and our work together, it's just been a huge plus, and I understand the point that if you're there and things are going good, but if this vote goes this direction, I encourage you, is exactly, your attitude is my attitude. Whether I get a seat at under this table or not, I'm gonna be present and be part of what goes on further, and I hope that if this vote happens that way, that there's only 5, that the people that want to still be involved, I hope you still stay involved.
Yeah. You know, and my point in coming up here wasn't,
Yes, I
Catherine,
understand.
hard feelings or anything. I just wanted to make a point that some of that stuff wouldn't happen had we known we were acting under another guise.
I understand.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Anybody else from recreation?
Craig Johnson, representing Springfield. You'd be surprised if I didn't get up here, so I didn't want to surprise you.
A heart attack.
Sir,
I would have a heart attack.
well, let me sit back down. Then I'll save you and Sonny Dixon can put me on the hometown hero.
Say please.
Okay. Pretty much, there's really nothing new I have to say. I think this board, the Recreation Board, the county commissioners, we work great together at these workshops we've had. It was nothing but positive. We were all on the same page. This almost puts a little tarnish on it. I represent Springfield, so I'm kind of taking it personally. I don't think it's personal. We don't operate as districts or cities. We're very in sync with each other. Nothing's really been discussed. We want fairness across the board. In our last meeting, with the $5.8 million allocated for the central complex, our vision is we think we can come under that budget and would love to put the extra money back on the projects we had on the list on the Sandhill side with batting cages, with more playground equipment, things like that. So we're a board for the county. You take an oath for Effingham County, not your respective districts. So you're up here to do the bidding for the will of the people. And pretty much everything tonight's, the will of the people would be to leave this board like it is. Thank you.
Craig, is there somebody now that's serves on your board that's in the athletic department from the school board?
No, sir.
I didn't think so.
This affiliate, when in the document, when it says school rec department, are you talking coach? Is that
Well, it says ideally one member shall be a member of the school board athletic department.
Yeah, that's what confused me. Well, I don't think the school board has an athletic department. They have coaches at different sports, but there again, there's another can of worms. You got 3 middle schools and 2 high schools. So, personally, I know all these guys that coach. They're friends of mine. I don't know that a coach would bring something different to the table for recreation.
Gotcha.
Just for one point of record, and I think everybody received this email, because it looks like it was sent to every commissioner. I don't get a chance to check it today, but I did receive an email from an Eddie Horn that lives in my district that says he's coached rec for 15 years in Effingham County. And as he's been learning the issue, he's going to go on record as saying that he's in favor of of having a 5-member board, so
He's also the president of the Booster Club.
the Booster Club, one of the schools.
Already done.
So as far as the will of the people, you know, it just varies from people to people and, so.
And I want to, again, say this is nothing personal. Mr. Horn, I talked to him this morning, they had a Booster Club meeting, he talked about the ordinance, and they were totally in support of making this across the districts. And he called me this morning, and he followed up with an email to each of his commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
If we don't change it to 5 members, right, we probably will, why don't we fix it to where we want the 3 people that's not cut off, why don't we leave them on the board until their time is up, and we won't replace them when their time is up on the board.
Okay. Anybody else here from the recreation department that wants to give me their 2 cents?
It's all been said.
Mr. Morgan. I'm not going to state that I would have a heart attack if you wouldn't got up.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but Ms. Wright and I have been talking. In relationship to Mr. Wilson's comment, I think he probably would do purchasing. That was the problem, and not Ms. Joanna. It did take about 8, 9 months. I won't clarify that. But recreation bylaw has been in existence for 40 years. I got told Mr. Forrest this morning, today, I don't care which route you go. I'm just proud of what we're doing in Effingham County, and I'm proud of what the project we're making, and I'm looking forward to seeing dirt turn and work begin.
Well, honestly, I didn't come in this meeting with my mind made up if I get the vote. So, I mean, that's, my concern was the part of this thing that one member has to, or ideally, I don't like words like that. That ideally, then does it not become ideal? One member shall be a member of the school board athletic department. I saw no reason for that. And I'm trying to get somebody to tell me why that should be in there.
Probably at the time, they may have been using more of the school's facilities, more, but maybe, I don't know.
Clarence,
74.
Clarence, the athletic director works with the school board anyhow to work with the facilities, am I correct?
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're a member of the school, of the recreation board.
And we got a great relationship.
Yeah. But that's how it might have been on there.
Where is that in here? I saw it.
Is it in the new draft? Is that what you're saying?
46-32.
That needs to be struck. That needs to be struck for certain. One thing additionally I want to say when we're having all this discussion about various districts and equitability, I think equitability is important, but I also do want to say I think most of the members up here do recognize while something that's being stated about, we represent our districts, but all people, we're trying to look out for the best of all of Effingham County the same way. That is why when this complex possibility and location came up, and it's located mileage-wise towards the north end, the central of the county, but not where the necessary all population is. But there's no argument there about it's a great thing for all residents, and that's what was important to me, was that it was good for everybody. So I just want to say that as a whole, that I think everybody up here does definitely care about not just their district, but what's best for all of our citizens.
The other thing that I've heard mentioned here tonight is that the school, the Recreation Commission could have written a check and we'd have had to pay for it. If that exists anywhere, I can't find it, but if so, that's not good governance of a board of commissioners. So
You can't go by their old bylaws that they were handed out of FERC, it doesn't actually apply.
I understand.
Okay.
But they would have also had to have been appointed in that manner, which they were.
But I do know that this shows the level of the stuff that we're having to clean up every day, that we're trying to get legal. Just point out again, Chairman, where the areas that need to be struck.
46-32.
Page 1, which is 2 of 7 on my sheet up. 46-32, it goes down, it says, shall be residents of the county with at least one member from each commission district within the county. Well, find it?
Gotcha.
There's part of that, and I practice law without a license sometimes, so forgive me. But when it says with at least one member from each commission district within the county, what does it mean, at least one?
It needs to be specific.
It is right where at least.
You see what I'm saying?
Did an attorney write this or something else? I'm just kidding.
And the next part of it, it says ideally one member shall be a member of the school board athletic department. I just see no purpose in having that, and I don't think anybody here has convinced me differently. So, other than that, the terms are staggered by the staggering of the election of the commissioners. So that part is taken care of. And unless somebody else can clarify some other issue, it sounds to me like all that's left is whether or not 5's enough, or do we need 9, or do we need 15, or whatever. And I have not heard anything from anybody on recreation board that would lead me to believe we need to keep 9. The only thing I have heard is representative from Guyton that says that Mayor Garvin doesn't want to be excluded, so that means one of the cities doesn't like the idea of not being represented. Now, let me just finish.
All I want to do is clarify.
I'm having my heart attack now.
Good.
So, you know, I think it's a valid point. People are going to come to the meetings that want to be involved. Parents come to meetings when they want to be involved or when they have an argument. You know, I don't know whether the fact of having 9 is better than having 5, or whether more is better. Personally, I don't see where the cities are entitled to representation on their own. I mean, y'all can argue the point, but I don't see it. It's a county-wide program. It's not a city program. We give money to the cities through service delivery for whatever program they want to have over and above the county program. So, you know, as long as the ordinance brings us into fiscal responsibility so that we don't have audit issues, I don't have a problem either way with the numbers. That's up to y'all. But I think 5 does just as well as 9. That's how you fix, Mr. Craig.
All right. Maybe I wasn't clear. So I'm saying it now. I would love the board to stay just like it is. If we want to add more representation, Mr. Charles would be mayor of Eden if we want to make it a city, and that'll get you another one there, Mr. Forrest. So basically, want to leave it like it is. We got a good group. We don't have any visitors at our meetings. The only time we have people at our meetings is when a coach is in trouble and he comes to appeal his case to us. Other than that, it's mostly 9 of us and Mr. Morgan sitting there and hashing out what's going on in the county recreation and moving forward with the new complex.
So y'all, what makes up a quorum of your board right now?
Sorry.
What makes up a quorum of your board?
5.
You always have 5?
Any 5. We have had 4 at one time. One meeting there was 4. A lot of sickness out of town. So
if you had 5 3 would become your quorum.
Yes.
So,
I guess it would be the same guidelines that y'all would operate on as far as what is a quorum versus how many members you have.
so would it be easier to, what I'm saying is, was there ever a time that you could not conduct your business because you didn't have a quorum?
Yes.
Because getting 5 people there is harder to get 5 there than to get 3.
We have had a number of meetings where we just did have a quorum.
I think we would just need to be sure that whoever we appoint will be dedicated.
I think Chairman's making a point that they may have an easier time having a quorum of 5 than 9. That could be a benefit.
To tie back into my conversation with Mr. Horn, he had no idea that there were 9. He thought it was 5. People were surprised, and the people in the book club last night were surprised and couldn't understand why they were 9.
And I know there's a lot of discussion north-south, and you're right.
That's what I'm trying to say. You said that was the conversation last night.
And that stems from high school, and that's just good rivalry. That's what's interesting. This board doesn't operate like that, and that's why this board was pushing for a park to be in the Springfield area, which is the county seat. This is where all our government offices are. It's where the hospital is, where the sheriff's department is. So it's the center of the county. It's the heart of Effingham County. So that's why the recreation board was pushing for it in a centralized area, which is equal to everyone.
Yeah, it's a great location.
Okay, sure is. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
A point of clarification in the draft that's before you, section 4635B, currently reads 2/3 of the members of the board constitute quorum. If your intention is that 3 members make a quorum, we would request that you make that change.
All right, tell me that again.
4635B, page
4635B.
page 3 of 7. And how should that read? How do you want that to read?
I would just, if you want 3 members to make a quorum, I would just say 3 members shall constitute a quorum.
Yep.
Because 2/3 would not be satisfied by 3
Would you
members.
want to say 3 votes being necessary?
You could do that, or, yeah, you could do that. For years, that was how this commission operated, required 3 affirmative votes. And 3 affirmative votes shall be required to pass any,
So the simple majority being
to approve any business.
create a quorum, they would have to have a unanimous vote to know business. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that's not fair, and that keeps it.
In the wording of it, and it should be required to pass.
To approve any
Approve.
business.
Okay. Okay. I'll have the changes.
Anybody else got anything they want to say? Question?
I do have one question. This is the first and second reading, this, as it stands. Question on that.
Yes. Well, it depends.
It says it is, so I'm trying to figure that out. Like, I think you understand.
It does.
Oh, we have a unanimous vote.
Doesn't
It
it?
depends on how the vote.
You can decide to only approve the first reading, and then it'll go on the next agenda for the second.
Or
You
you
can
can-
state that.
Well, I wasn't attempting to state that. I'm trying to verify, it can be the first and second.
Yes, ma'am.
If you have a
You have a unanimous
And
vote.
if it ends up unanimous, it would come to that, if not, then that.
If it's not unanimous, it has to go to the next meeting.
Understood.
Anybody else? All right, call for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve staff recommendation alternative number 1 with the following changes. Under section 46-32, we remove the 2 words "at least" under the county with "at least 1 member," we remove "at least." And then we remove "ideally 1 member shall be a member of the school board athletic department." And then under 46-35B, we changed that to read as the following. 3 members of the Recreation Board shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of all official business, and 3 affirmative votes shall be required to approve any business.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second. No other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Let the record show. Commissioner Loper, Commissioner DeLoach voted against. What's your name? Alright. So, this will come back for a second reading. Any amendments or changes can be made to that second reading? Correct?
Sorry, correct.
Next item, consideration to approve establishing a separate bank account from which to make disbursements to Effingham Hospital. I didn't mean to, well, but I did want to ask you a question. We've already passed from that, but before the second reading, I would like for you to be sure and review that and be sure that everything will bring us into fiscal compliance.
I believe so. I did yesterday, but I will re-review it again. There's changes, at least on the fiscal part, were necessary.
Okay. But the other part, I just didn't want to get argumentative if we could
Yes, sir.
stay here on that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hospital.
Yes, sir. As you know, this past year, the board negotiated with the hospital to bring us in compliance with the contract that we have with the hospital. In doing so, the board elected to basically receipt the funds that are coming from the tax commissioner's office. In doing so, in that election, we need to set up a separate bank account for those funds so that we can track those funds and assure the validity of the payments to the hospital. So the finance office is asking for your permission, as always, to set up a separate bank account to treat this basically as special funds that will be received by the county itself.
I didn't have a chance to ask you this prior, and I don't have that extreme detail. I just want to verify. You feel like it's a better thing to have a totally separate account than to have some type of sub-account?
I do from this standpoint. Generally, everything else goes into the general fund. And so as far as our reconciliation and tracking of exactly what we're receiving in and actually what's going out, I think it will be more versatile. Number one, I think also too, in speaking with our attorney, Elizabeth, and somewhat with Eric, being able to substantiate what we're using those that tax levy for would be easier to document.
It prevent any kind of commingling questions.
The one thing I want to point out to the board is if you continue to levy in the name of a hospital authority, it's our opinion that anything you collect for that levy, for that millage, is restricted to being used to fund the hospital authority. In other words, you can't levy on behalf of the hospital authority, and then if you collect 3.9 million, you can only disperse them 3.6.
But we're getting ready to also look at that in another item on this agenda in a few minutes, correct?
Basically, what he's talking about is in the resolution to levy, that particular resolution states to provide medical care and hospitalization for the indigent, sick, and others entitled to the services of the county hospital. So to segregate those funds basically would help us to demonstrate that that is what those funds are going for.
So to clarify, then if we collect above 3.6,
It will stay in that account and be used for that purpose.
so in a future year, if you were short or such type thing, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Are there other situations where we need to create a separate account for something else, or this is it?
We've done that from time to time.
We have separate accounts for all of our special
No, but
funds.
for right now, this would be the only
This
item
is the
that
only
we would
one.
need to
That's correct.
separate this for.
Yes, sir.
Then this way we will know exactly what we give into the hospital.
Exactly what we're giving to the hospital and being able to demonstrate that this particular levy is going for that specific purpose.
Any other questions? Motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve a millage calendar for the year 2015.
Yes, sir. As we have in the past on several other things, we've tried to establish a protocol since this involves 3 or 4 offices all providing information. And so we have met with both the tax commissioner's office and the tax assessor's office. I believe you have an updated calendar within your packets in which when we met with them, we made several adjustments to this document. It is with the concurrence of the tax commissioner and with the tax assessor that we can abide by this calendar. We're doing so to ensure that we are able to levy that tax before the 6/30 because of the fact that we do have hospital payments that will be done between now and the end of June. I want to make sure that we do have that levy in place before the end of June.
Just sets target dates to get things done.
Yes, sir, it does.
Is this a little bit in advance of what our calendar's been in the past? It looked a little,
It is a little bit in advance. If you remember, we backed up our budget time. There are so many things that are going on during the month of April, May, and June that we were trying to be proactive in backing our stuff up 30 to 45 days to ensure that we get, everything done.
the only thing I was trying to figure out was when we have to advertise our 5-year history by May 1st, do you feel like Janice is going to have her account into us by then? Because sometimes we had trouble getting that even at the other that date.
Yes, ma'am. And that was the reason for the joint meetings with Janice and with Linda. We basically came to terms with when she was going to be able to solidify her figures, the fact that she would be able to produce those and give those to Linda. It then actually has to go to the Manacon system to finalize those. And so the two of them worked out that timeline together to be able to make sure that we were within this time
Do
frame.
you know when she said she was going to be able to solidify the digest? Roughly?
I believe it was on April 27th through the 29th is when we were trying to make sure of that.
That's all I had.
So both meetings in May, we will have official discussion on that, and then the first meeting in June, we'll actually make a vote or to what we're going to do with military.
That's correct.
That's right.
If we're able to follow the calendar appropriately.
If you also look at the budget calendar, we will approve the budget and then approve the millage,
Okay.
so that we will have things in place.
Get it advertised right the first time, so we don't have to have
Yes, sir.
special calls.
And we're down, the other reason for this too is, we used to have a publication that had, publication twice a week. We're down to once a week. And so we actually have to have that in the Thursday before the publication on Wednesday. And so that was another venue and looking at this calendar was to try and make sure that we were compliant with that also. And do it on regular scheduled meetings if at all possible.
All right. Motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the first and second reading to amend Chapter 34, Flood Damage Prevention Regulations of the official Effingham County Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Chairman, this came before y'all not too long ago. We made very minor modifications. It was then submitted to UPD for their review. They had 3 comments on it. One was to basically somewhat undo what we just did, and I say somewhat because 34.7 is what was amended previously, and it basically struck out the effective date of December 17, 2010, which is the date on our current effective flood insurance max terms, and replaced that with the most recently available flood insurance study. They wanted us to add back in December 17th and then going forward the most recently available. So that date got back in addition to the most recently available flood maps. The other 2 issues that they were concerned with is previously when I sent this to them, or when you approved it, it was only modifying 34.7, so it didn't have a separate, I'll say that severability clause, separate from the totality of our ordinance, which does have a severability clause that was in there. It just wasn't in what they could see in their review and an effective date actually in the ordinance. So that's been added at the very last page of this as a severability separate or to this one section and an effective date today. And this does have to be approved and to them before the 16th of this month, which is when our new firms become active, if you will.
Does this have anything to do with what I've heard discussion about how the wetlands, some of the wetlands areas have been looked at differently, or 2 separate things?
2 separate, yeah.
Questions? Motion?
Motion to approve alternative 1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to authorize the chairman to execute the Georgia Department of Transportation non-discrimination agreement.
This has come up as part of our LAP, our locally assisted project recertification that's still ongoing. And basically, it's just what it says, a non-discrimination agreement where we promise that we will not discriminate against Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 64 as amended in 87, which is again the grounds of race, color, national origin, creed, and there were some other things added in 87. In any program that receives federal dollars, which is transportation and our most immediate needs here, but it's also because we receive federal dollars for other things. It applies to basically everything we do. It applies to hiring, anything that we do. And this non-discrimination agreement is a simple 6 or 7 page form here that basically piggybacks off of Georgia Department of Transportation's Title VI agreement, which is a much larger document that municipalities of over 200,000 population actually have to produce a separate document. Since we're not that big, we don't have to. And it's largely just a form letter that does require us to put the requirements of this Appendix A, which y'all previously approved in the ADA agreement that y'all did a couple months ago. So it's just a requirement of
Well, regularly, we vote to reapprove this every 3 years, so one thing I want to understand was there any new wording in the agreement from the last one 3 years ago, or is it?
You've actually never approved this one. I don't know how we got away with not doing it last time, but I can never see when you approved this particular agreement. There's another part that somewhat goes on with it that was approved, and that's the one you reapproved here in the last 6 months or so. But we've never actually approved this part of it somehow.
In other words, this is required to be approved every 3 years, but this will be the first time we're actually doing that?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, the 3 years was what GDOT did with our LAP recertification. They wanted that to be a 3-year certification process. They've now talked about yearly, I don't know that they know, this is new, 3 years ago was the first time they did that.
Okay.
Somebody give me a motion.
Make a motion that we approve staff recommendation and approve document.
Motion and second to approve, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve to reappoint William Carter to the District 2 seat on the DFC as full.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if you recall, back on November 4th of last year, 2014, the board approved to appoint William Carter to the second district seat to fulfill an expiring term. Well, that term is expiring as of June 30th of this year. He was appointed by Vice Chairperson Jones, and she is wanting to reappoint Mr. Carter.
The only question I have is that we're just getting it done a little early, just trying to stay ahead instead of behind. Yeah, right. No problem.
All right. District 2 seat, any motion?
Make a motion to appoint William Carter to the unexpired term of District 2 of DFAX, set to expire on June 30th, 2015.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Consideration to approve to reappoint Sandra Nethels to appoint Martha Knowlton to the library board.
This is a very similar situation. In your material, you will have a letter from the library board, B. Saba, requesting that Ms. Neville be reappointed. Ms. Martha Knowlton will replace Ms. Sharon Mason, whose term will expire on June 30th. Also in your material is member profile information for Mrs. Knowlton.
Questions? Comments? Motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item. Consideration to approve commissioner and clerk travel for the ACCG 2015 annual conference in Savannah.
You can kind of talk among yourselves on this one. I do know 2 commissioners have confirmed attendance and have chosen their courses.
I'm one of them.
You are one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Keeper is the other.
I have confirmed attendance, but I haven't taken my class. Okay. And so I sent to take my classes on what day? Yesterday?
I will say that the classes are filling up pretty quickly. I spoke with Natalie Fitzgerald with ACCG yesterday, I believe, so as soon as you can.
I'll try to do that other one.
Now, I was meeting the other day creating this other course, okay? And I did confirm, we get credit, we have to have 18 hours. These are 6-hour classes, but we do get credit for attending conferences and meetings. And that's the reason for that barcode.
I did not know that we get hour credits for
We
this.
get credit. Now, how much?
I'll have to verify that.
No, that's a fact.
Okay, now only like how many, according to the same, like if the hour, you get an hour credit for that, for the credit work.
You take a class, you take one class like it's all day, I think.
It's 6 hours.
Credit for that.
You get 6 hours.
6 hours.
So I did confirm that.
Well, that's what I'd like to know, is if we attended every single day there, how many hours would we get? Because since it is in Savannah, that is the best, most cost-effective way for us to get our hours in. And so that's good.
And I was told like the day that I spent in that class, creating this class, I get credit for that class. So that day was time that didn't cost the county or anybody money. So that's,
And
I
you
like
like for
that.
6 hours, right?
The classes, they don't have them Friday and Monday, right?
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday.
What kind of classes you create?
This one was on workforce development. it was a lot more specialized than what I thought I was going for.
But then Saturday and Sunday is the conference.
That's correct.
Okay,
Can we sign up for your class? Is that okay?
you can.
No, the class that I was part of creating rolls out in October at the conference on Jekyll Island. And I have been invited to attend free of charge.
Wonderful, there's another.
How about the rest of us? How about the rest of us?
No,
We don't care?
you got it.
So you should have negotiated that.
Oh, well.
But it was a good learning experience and found out there's some resources out there that we can make ourselves available to that we're not doing. But anyhow, this is no travel cost. This is just
Just the
basically
cost of the
conferences because it's close enough in Savannah that we,
50 miles.
Okay, so should I word that actually, because it says recommendation is to step up number alternative number 1, and then alternative 1 says approved travel. Should we actually just state that to say approved registration
registration and training events. Correct?
Yes. But if you ask Jack Christie, he doesn't want to say training, he wants to call it continuing education.
If we get no per diem for going to Savannah, we get no travel mileage.
Well, for Commissioner, well, look, you've already been to a class. You've already been to a class, not one hour. Not in the afternoon. Yeah. Still continuing that, okay.
Yeah, your classes, actually the certification program, is my understanding now, unless you want to try and get certified, which we all are certified to run for office, but a different certification. You got that, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't bet on that.
I mean, that's basically to get the incentive, the pay incentive. You don't have to go get those. You don't have to get the 18 hours continuing unless you want to keep your certification.
I guess he's saying they can't pay out of office if you don't. That's probably what he's saying.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
It's recommended, yeah.
So
But there's value in a lot of that.
there are a lot of value and there's a lot of good courses coming out that's going to be very beneficial, I think. So, anyhow, as to this, I think that the commission would not be wise to not avail itself to local training and conferences. That's my 2 cents.
I make a motion that we approve registration, training, continuing education, and conference expense.
So,
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Keep on, Stephanie, you gonna get certified.
I'm working on it.
All right, next item. We're done.
we're done.
How about that? I have one item for executive session, if I can have that motion, or you want to do staff reports first? Let's do staff reports.
Go ahead and do it.
Do it.
First, Chairman,
Do it. Do it.
we'll skip the first one. I think y'all has beaten that one out pretty good. ACCG annual conference. IDA board appointments are still out there. Need to be appointed. 2015 Taste of Effingham will be this Thursday, 5 to 7, at Effingham County Recreation Park Gym. ACCG Leadership Awards, they are now accepting ACCG nominations for a couple of different categories. You have the paperwork in there. They're due by Monday, March 23rd. If you would like to nominate someone, United Way Operation Thank You reception will be held Wednesday, March 11th, 2015, beginning at 9:30 at the Robert H. Demery Jr. United Way Effingham Community Service Center, located at 711 Zero Isle Road. You're all invited to attend if you'd like to make that. That should be in your packages off of the invitation. We'll skip around here a little bit. Effingham County PIOH for Parkway is still March 18th. You now have some information included there, which is the handouts that will be given at the PIOA, so you can see what people will be given for 6, March 18th in this building. House Bill 170, the latest version that actually passed committee. There should be a summary of that legislation in there from ACCG as well as the bill. And I don't know exactly what steps to put in there. There may be some numbers too where they recalculated where we would stand. The most recent legislation, I believe, and I looked at it very quickly, has both SPLOST and eSPLOST back being pledged on all fuels, not where it was in the last version, exempted on diesel. It's on all of them, all going up to 1.25% on everything except fuels. I think it's the biggest differences from the last version. So it does appear that we're getting back in the right direction here monetarily. Camden Spaceport, CRC has asked a letter of support from this board for the spaceport to be proposed in Camden. They like one of those. There's some information in there that Mr. Burns with CRC shared on what that actually is, and we had a conversation with him the other day. It appears that it's a couple of years out still of becoming a reality, but again, they have asked for that letter of support. I'll let y'all read that, see what it is, and we staff will work on some sort of letter and get it to y'all for a future meeting. And this isn't on your list, but Georgia Trend advertisement, the May issue of that magazine will have a feature for Effingham County. We have in the past participated in a co-op ad with some others, and Rick Lott is asking if we'd like to do that again. The cost is somewhere around $600 if y'all would like to participate in that. And I'll be honest with you, don't even know what the ad was last year. I'll take that information and send it back to y'all. And pause for response.
It's not budgeted.
This way. No, there's really no budget for the advertisement. Again, we did it last year. It's up to y'all. If you like to participate or not. So we're trying.
Ms. Joanna, we have the money to spend the $600?
Yes.
That's where the money comes from.
I believe that we have some contingency in Department 15 or Department 11. I want to say some advertising that could be pulled.
Is it a share of 600 or our share?
Share of 600. Our share would be approximately 600.
Well, I think it depends on the ad to some extent. Because I've seen some things we've done in Georgia Trend that I wasn't happy with personally. What that's worth. So I don't know, are we going to have input into, besides giving money, are we going to, besides giving the money, we're going to have input as to what the ad is?
Money. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the deadline, and I apologize. Rick sent this email, I didn't follow up with him, and I was just going through them, and I came across it. I should have done more homework as to when the deadline is. If it's a May issue, though, we got to be fairly close on. But I would think there's enough time, yes, to get an ad and bring it back and let y'all prove that ad.
If we feel that it benefits us in some way, that benefits the citizens, and we have input into it, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, would you like for us to put some ad together and bring it back to you at your next meeting and then let you try to make a decision based on the content of the ad?
I definitely couldn't make a decision without seeing it, but off the cuff, I'd tell you I'm not spending the money personally.
It is questionable as to, now what I would need to know is how it benefits us. If it does benefit, if it really is seen that it benefits us, that somehow somebody sees something in some of those articles that ends up bringing an industry to Effingham County or something like that. If they can point to something that has created that, then it's worthwhile. And as long as we have input, because like I said, I've seen in the past where I didn't feel like it represented my board as well as I would have liked to.
Personally, I think we support the chamber in the dues that we pay for the contract of services, and I think that's something the chamber needs to do.
And the IDA will probably do in the same situation.
Correct.
Well, and I think they do. I think that's who the co-op is. I think it's the chamber and the IDA in addition to county. There's other entities that go together for that.
Give us a little more information on it.
Yes, sir. All right, last one. We received, and Ms. Johnson may can shed a little more light on this, she spoke to the young lady, some complaints in Westwood Heights regarding drainage. You have her email with some pictures that she sent, and then there's a sheet beyond that, which is a whole bunch of numbers. And I'll share with you what all those numbers are and what I know about this today. This is a little different than the last one that we had on Green Drive, in that Green Drive was a situation where the pipes weren't big enough to handle the water that was coming out of the ditches and nearly into the houses. My understanding of this is that this is not the situation here, and this is John Glenn Drive, which goes to Vale Road, ultimately back to Green Drive. The ditches and pipes are adequate to convey the water. The issue is the grading of the ditch is up and down. And if you look at these numbers that are in front of you, which my sheet's bigger than yours somehow, but this young lady, I believe, is lot number 135. And from one side of her house to the other, there is 6/10 of reverse fall in this particular pipe as it's going downhill, which means there's roughly a half a foot of water standing in her ditch. And that water is standing as a result of the drains of the pipe, not that I don't believe it's posing an imminent danger to flooding a structure. It's creating stagnant water that's standing in the ditch. Her email indicates that it's an ongoing problem, and very well may be. I can't speak to that, but I suspect that it's been exacerbated recently by all the rain, because the water just can't soak into the ground. It just, what sits there ends up staying there. There's nowhere for it to go. The numbers are where Public Works have went out and actually looked at and shot grades on all of the drives to determine what they're doing. It's 1.56 feet over 155 feet, which is about 0.17%. Which means flat. And to go in and tear all these drives up is really the only solution, is to tear all the drives and all the pipes to get it to drain. In my opinion, it's still going to be difficult to get it exactly right, just because it's so darn flat, through there. But so we'll keep y'all apprised of what's going on, but I just want to make you aware that although there is a complaint, Public Works has looked at it, and that is what I understand it to be at present. If my information is incorrect, I'll tell you all that later. We're looking to a farmer.
Well, so is it any viable solution, not that the county would take on, but to offer to the citizen? And just looking at that picture, I was just wondering, sometimes if the citizen can hire somebody to go through and create some type of additional drainage swell between the two lots, is there something like that? Is there any other option available to them?
They're already there.
It's a bowl.
Yeah, and if you look at the first page, you'll see there's a swell between the lots going into it. The issue is when it hits the pipe along John Glenn Drive, it's draining downhill, and this pipe is higher, so it holds water up until it can go through that pipe. And she alluded to, and this has been going on for a while, Public Works has been involved, adding sand onto the ditches. What they were trying to do is get it to drain through there, but it's just not going to work without altering the pipes, and the pipes can't be removed without removing the driveways, which have to be replaced. And where I left Jerry today was he was going to go through and figure the incremental grades down each one to see if the pipe would even fit back under the driveways if they're adjusted. Because just like, and that was the issue we had on the other way, it ended up using a pipe because there's just the ditches are so shallow.
How many driveways are you talking about?
It appears 10.
I can't have 11, but.
You can, there may be 11, so I can hit quickly. Either 10 or 11.
Okay.
And he was going to get costs and so forth, so we'll keep y'all updated as it goes on. I just wanted to, since you had a complaint, tell you what we were doing, in regards to it.
Does it appear there's an imminent danger to flood the home?
That's my understanding, is that Jerry has been out here during rains, and it's not a flooding situation, it's more of what she termed a health and safety concern of stagnant water, standing around.
Kind of thick standing on the drive.
It's nearly a half a foot of water in the ditch. Now, it does appear from one of the photos there's some standing on the drive. I don't know how to fix that, because that's up in the yard. And for some reason, what it looks like is a lot of these houses, just like in the other one, they're built so low that the driveway actually has to kind of come down into the garage.
Okay, and where it's holding in the driveway is not from the ditch?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that's a separate issue.
Let me back up. I don't believe it
It
is.
doesn't
Looking at
appear
this
that in the
photo,
picture.
it doesn't appear that way, and I have not been out here myself. But it appears that the water drains from the road down and back up and get to the garage, so I don't think the ditch would have anything to do with that. But again, that's when we look at this picture. We'll clarify that.
Well, there definitely is a problem up there. We addressed the other road. And to me, we looked out better than what I expected to on that road.
It's a good engineer.
We looked out. But I don't know, in this area right here, it's just down in that bowl, it's, and the other ones actually had water going up into houses. I mean, that was,
Very near, let me say that. I think it was.
well, it was in the garage up to the lip of the,
Yes.
that whole area is just a problem because it low, the house is built too low under the old ordinance.
Old requirements.
That's right. Keep a watch on it. If there's something we can do, we need to address it. If is what it is, we just need to know.
Again, the only fix is to rip all the driveways out and regrade the pipes. My real concern is, to be quite frank, is it's, less than 2/10 of fall. And to get those back on grade is probably still going to have some issues. It's difficult to get them that precise for a ditch. But we will keep you updated.
All right? Is that it?
Yes, sir. All right.
Well, that's the shortest I've ever heard you talk.
I tried.
Joanne?
Yes.
I see the village calendar is in here. We're on track for our budget hearings.
Yes, sir, we are on track at this point. We've already done the first round of getting dates with the department heads. And so we expect to stay on course.
And I talked to you, we're starting the process for an auditor.
Yes, sir. We've got it down, we're working on that to get party for that.
Okay. Good enough. Clint? Anybody else?
I got something. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but Nolan Kessler's mother passed away and she was buried sometime today. In the past, we okayed the clerk and we make up whatever you want to give. But if somebody passes away that's in the county, or their parents or a kid or something, she has the authority to go ahead and send flowers to it, and then we have to pay her $15. You can buy something for $90 if all 6 of us want to participate. Or $10, whatever. But we need to give her amount of money that we are willing to pay for the flowers for the employee or somebody in the employee's family. We've been doing this for years, but I don't think it's ever.
I never did that.
We've never come up before this board, so that's the reason I decided to bring it up.
This is the condition paid.
Pardon?
Yeah, we just always did that.
Yes. We give her permission to buy the flowers and send them, and you might not even know about it, but she'll send you a bill for whatever we agree to spend. If you want to spend $10 a piece on it, you can buy something for $60, $15, you can buy it for what, $90, and whatever we tell her, then she can go ahead and buy it and send it. And a lot of times somebody passed away and you won't even know it, like today. I didn't know about Noah's mother till this morning.
Well, basically, what would happen, it was kind of like an understanding of what we've done, so we usually end up getting an email from the clerk that says, so-and-so's mother passed, and so if you bring your $20 to the next commission meeting, that's how we would know. If we didn't know, if we had not found out.
She'll go ahead and pay for it, then we have to repay her. If we don't, they send you a nasty letter. But anyway, I don't think it's ever been between this board and he's a new fellow too, so I'm sure it hasn't been since he's been here. But I think that's something good. We have an employee, the employee's family. I think we need to send something to them.
Yeah.
That's the least we can do.
Well,
Is anybody against it?
I'm not against it, but I think what we need to do is draft some type of an understanding to know how far this goes. I mean,
As far as relation,
we had an employee get killed
that's right, Saturday.
Saturday.
And I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, you need to learn to read your emails.
Well, my email reader has been out of condition.
Yeah, it comes from Rush. He sends it out.
Yeah, but different ones get different things. of course.
But anyway, I would say it's immediate family, a parent, a kid.
With that said, yes, I would, and about understanding, I do want to be sure, I ask publicly, because I want to get, we talked about putting us and whichever commissioner, if they all want it or nobody wants it, but I would like to be on the email inclusion list of the department heads.
Should
So-
be.
We are.
Okay, so maybe it's like when you guys send something out to department heads, but does that mean, say somebody else, send something to a department?
No,
They don't live in-
it's a distribution group called department head, which includes all the department heads.
Okay, because I'm aware of what's
So
going out.
unless you send it to that distribution group, it's not any time a department head is emailed, you get copied of it. It's only when somebody sends something that's intended to go to all department heads.
Well, it appeared it was to all department heads.
It was, but what I'm saying is if I sent one to Stephanie, you're not automatically going to get included on that unless it's sent to department heads, which goes to everybody.
That's
That
what I'm
makes
saying.
sense?
Yes, one got sent to all department heads, and I didn't receive it, so I'll check on that, but.
Okay,
I
you
know it's
should be
supposed to
in that
on
group.
the list.
If you did not receive it, I need to check it.
Okay.
All of you should be in that group.
Because I get them from Rush. I mean,
Well,
regret to
actually,
inform you of the passing of.
yeah, it's the notifications distribution list. They're a part of.
They should have been in department heads, not
The
notifications.
notification, that's not what I'm referring to, but one that's specified for department.
That's the one I was told
Miss
was approved.
Christine, that's Nobles.
Yeah.
Well, let me check it out. Look right now.
The one
What
that,
we've done is,
Okay.
but I would just like something formally drawn up so that there is no, yeah. And I don't want our clerk to be in a position of getting stiffed by anybody and.
She turned over to collection agent. I didn't have any.
We send 5 please.
That'd make it better.
I mean, personally, I think it ought to just be in our budget for,
Well, you can do that.
for our clerk to be able to do that.
Just so we recommend.
We can
I
do
thought we
that.
had something through insurance that the employees paid into.
they do send something through the HR under
Okay.
our wellness program.
Yeah.
We were doing that in addition to separate
Okay.
from all employees.
Right,
Okay.
right. That's what you're saying.
So draw us up something that we can,
How far do you want to go in the family?
we'll work on it.
We let her do it, then we can change it.
We'll work on it.
Okay. But you don't bring up about our appointments, next.
The appointment.
You're in the group, I don't know why you.
Yeah.
I get it.
Planning board and,
Yeah, I don't, unless we
IDA board.
Oh, yeah.
We
So
don't
the
do
IDA
it too.
board
We don't do it
is
too.
on TOS's listing, you still need to appoint for that, the IDA board. Planning board is your district group? It was your district?
The planning board, he quit, I'm way behind, he quit 2 or 3
Yeah.
months ago.
Yeah.
And Dennis wants to be replaced, and his time is up also, but I'm replacing, IDA.
Did we say we'll put an idea on the
And
next?
his time was already up.
I didn't, I just said they're still due. I don't have names, I've got Commissioner Loper's.
I got 2 of them.
Are we
IDA.
ready to have them go ahead and put an idea member vote on the next agenda? So they can-
I was gonna bring it up, but since Reggie already has, I mean, the IDA board really is a kind of a standstill right now because, we need to get that done. I've looked at, I've talked to them about changing the way, because those are by militia districts, not by commissioner district.
Correct.
So,
This is in my militia district. I made sure of that.
so we need to address that and have it, if at all possible, by the next commission meeting.
I'm fine with putting it on the next meeting for a vote.
Just need the names.
Yeah.
You all get the names of who each of your appointments are, it'll be on the next one.
Name, you need their
Has
information.
Dennis made it back here yet?
Yes.
He did?
Went by this evening, David, he wasn't home, so.
Whether any of y'all know, and Dennis Webb's had some serious medical issues.
His time was up, but
Step.
he doesn't wanna be reappointed on account of his condition.
I found out last Thursday, but Thursday before, he was having more surgery. He was still,
He came home just before the week, Thursday and Friday, I think.
What about planning board? Are you got a for the planning board as well?
And I just made my appointment, and you did.
Mine stays the same.
Yours is going to say.
That's what you.
That's right, yours is not yours, yours isn't expired.
Mine's expired,
Yours is expired, yours is expired, and Phil, yours is.
but you got mine.
I
All I
have
got to
yours.
get for the
Yes,
hospital.
sir. You got it. It's a local zone.
I had 3 past you.
So do we want to put that one on as well, next meeting?
need to do it.
I think we're ready.
His turn.
You through, Reggie?
Yes, that's all I had.
Okay.
One thing I want to do is recognize the fire department and the ceremony that they had to the staff recommendation. That was a very, very good, positive thing for Effingham County. And had an opportunity to recognize different ones that received awards, and one of the dispatchers that had actually helped walk a mother through bringing the child back to life over the telephone. It was just amazing. So anyway, I thought it was a big plus when I recognized that.
Yes, that was very good. Thank you.
On a lighter note, Clint finally found the fire truck. He just went up to Pennsylvania and saw Tony Phil and checked one out, made a little bit of snow with it. And just fixed shipped out here.
He didn't drive it back?
No, sir, he didn't drive it back. We didn't let him do that. We flew him back, and it'll be shipped down here.
You get a good buy on it, Clint?
Yes, sir.
And I guess another one.
Then you got a lead on another one too. Won't hit the brokers. We got brokers in here. It's even better deal on the second one.
Well, for the citizens that are sitting out there here and they
While we talking about fire, how about the fire department in Tustin? They working on it yet?
No, sir. There's a slight snag that'll come back to you on the 17th.
Slight snag.
Slight snag, yes, sir. It'll be back on the 17th.
It'll be 2 years in shortly.
Be back on the 17th.
But we were able to move forward on the other.
I've got a the rescission agreement. Would be signed out. So we'll have that in our possession. I have y'all vote on that, and we'll award it to the next bidder on the 17th.
The thing I was going to say with regard to, like, going to Pennsylvania for the fire trucks, for any citizens that are hearing that, that's because we're working diligently to save a lot of money based on what we were spending on fire trucks, and we're being able to do that, so that's a plus.
The only thing I'm gonna tell you is I bought something out of Pennsylvania one time, and I was a little bit ignorant of the damage that salt can do on the underside of vehicles. So when you're buying something from those areas, just beware. Look at all the
That's the first thing we looked at.
I didn't know, and I learned the hard way. So if you already knew that, that's good. But I tell you, that salt can tear up rotors and brake lines and everything. You through here?
Yes, sir.
Mark? Good. All right. Give me that motion, somebody. You say it so well.
We don't know if we can do it.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, property, and pending litigation.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, we stand adjourned to executive. All right, next item, consideration to approve the February 17, 2015 executive session meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the February 17th executive session.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Stand so approved. Any Any other business to come before this commission? I'll entertain that motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? None opposed? We stand so adjourned.